Hello, how are you? It's Nicholas Loise, president of GKIC, with the man, the legend, JoshTurner from LinkedIn Selling. Those of you that know Josh know that he's the king of using LinkedIn to maximize your results, to do warm prospecting on LinkedIn, and really grow your business and your lead generation. And I'm excited to be on the call with Josh. He's one of the greats in this industry, an all-around nice guy. A new father, right? If we,
That's right.
He's taking time out of the middle of his launch to kind of come on with us and spread the news of magnetic marketing, but the importance of using LinkedIn to really grow your business, grow your leads, grow your lead flow, and really set yourself apart. So talk us through your journey, because we were talking about it. You're a CFO for a manufacturing and a construction company, which is a natural byproduct of them becoming a information marketer and focused on LinkedIn selling. I can see that. So how did that path go? Because that's kind of a cool origin story.
Yeah, man. What happened is that, I was really, really passionate about that business that I worked for, and, really took a lot of ownership and pride in that company. Joined them in 2003, I believe it was. And we went from 5 million in annual revenue to about 23 million at our peak in 2008. And It was about that same time that the economy took a real severe downturn, as everybody knows. And we just ran out of work. And for the next year, that company didn't have a leg to stand on. We were a residential builder. We had a commercial arm. We had a woodworking facility, and we were just exposed to construction like you couldn't, like everybody else in that. But we did some things wrong, growing the company really. And when the market turned and work dried up, we didn't have a leg to stand on. And in November 2009, we had to shut the doors. And that was a hard thing for me. And at the time, I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but I'd been itching to do my own thing for a while. And so what I decided to do was go out and put up a shingle and start my own consulting business, working as an outsourced CFO. And one of the things that I took away from this being in this terrible situation where this company failed was that I saw that the main reason that they failed, while many of our competitors survived, it was really two things. Number one was that we were overly aggressive in investing all of our cash flow and profitability in future growth. So there's a finance lesson for you there. But number two is that we didn't have systems in place to consistently bring new prospects, leads, and clients into the business. It was really just based on referrals and word of mouth. And so when I started my company working as an outsourced CFO in early 2010, I was really determined that I was going to spend as much time as possible working on marketing for my business. And I wasn't just going to sit back and rely on referrals and word of mouth like so many people do, that then get caught on that roller coaster. I call it the cash flow roller coaster.
Sure.
So I started using LinkedIn to do just that, because I realized that I can go on LinkedIn, and instead of doing like a spray and pray social media strategy like most people teach, you can go on LinkedIn and hand select the exact people that you want to work with. And then I just over time developed some processes for turning those prospects on LinkedIn into clients. I started getting asked by some of those clients, hey, these things on LinkedIn that you're doing, do you think they would work for us? I kind of helped map out a strategy for a couple of those clients, and they said, well, that sounds great. We don't really know what the hell you're talking about though, so why don't you just do it for us? And it was kind of a light bulb moment for me. That was late 2011. And I thought, I bet there's a business here, because I could see that there were very few people, if anybody at the time, that were really positioned as a LinkedIn marketing expert that could do it the right way. There were a lot of, at the time, just kind of run-of-the-mill social media experts that claimed expertise in everything, but they didn't really know how to use LinkedIn for business development. And that's what I could help companies do. And that's what we do at Linked Selling. And so we started the company in late 2011, and it just kind of exploded from there. And now we've gone on to build a pretty amazing company. And we've been on the Inc. 500 the last 2 years in a row, and have a great team based here in St. Louis. I shouldn't say that. Our headquarters are here in St. Louis, but we have a remote workforce. So about half of our people are all over the U.S. So yeah, that's how we got here.
Yeah, it's a great story, and I, like you, I had a couple different companies and was in the home improvement, kind of home. I was heavy in the home improvement business. One was a marketing company and a couple different publications, and we got upside down just like you. And what I saw was the guys that made it through. We made it through that also, but you had a hustle, you had by hook and crook. But I agree with you. The guys that I saw make it through that were the ones that had processes and systems on growing their lead flow every day, and they focused on that, and they focused on closing sales. So it's one of the reasons why I'm passionate about magnetic marketing. I'm passionate about the work you guys do. Is it teaches people to put processes and systems into place on really how to keep that pipeline filled. And if you're selling B2B, right, and if you're selling B2B, you need to be on LinkedIn, right? So we'll talk a little bit about that right now. We'll segue into that. But the other thing too is I appreciate is because you come from a CFO, you come from a pretty analytical background, right? You look at it and say, what's my return on investment? How do I make sure that the people that utilize my systems and processes really get a fair return on investment? And so I appreciate that, because it's like one of the things that we always teach is results matter, and there has to be an ROI in everything you do. It's not just spray and pray. So who should be on LinkedIn? Who should be, kind of using LinkedIn as a prospecting tool, business development tool, you name it, lead source?
Yeah. Well, look, if you can go on LinkedIn and you can find your customers there, then you should be using it. Or if you can go on LinkedIn and you can find the influencers that serve your customers or the potential JV partners that serve your customers, then you should be there. If you can go on LinkedIn and you can find people in the media and in the press that are in your industry, then you should be there. Okay. So there's hardly a business that you can't make a case for. But generally speaking, for getting leads and clients, if you can go on LinkedIn and find your customers, which most people can that are in B2B, absolutely, then you should be figuring out how to tap into that.
And so what does it look like? So, down and dirty, let's get into it. What should a person be doing? So, okay, I get it. I'm selling enterprise software. I'm selling SaaS. I need to be on LinkedIn. I make my profile, then what?
So most people will make their profile and do almost nothing with it. And or just collect connections and build this kind of online Rolodex and do nothing with it. And so really at the end of the day, like the philosophy and the system we teach at the highest level, what it requires you to be consistent about showing up and putting in the reps. Okay. It requires you to be actually working the system. LinkedIn is really not the kind of thing that you're just going to set it and forget it, and it's just going to magically work for you. I mean, there's not much in the world of marketing that really works like that at the end of the day. But it requires you to have a system to where you're going to spend a little bit of time every day or every week or however you want to structure it, going out and connecting with prospects, and then designing a strategy to where the people that you're reaching out to are going to be open to connecting with you at a high rate. Okay. And then once you get connected with them, you need to have a messaging strategy for how you're going to then convert them from a connection on LinkedIn, not into a client, because I like to tell people, LinkedIn's not a sales tool. It's really a prospecting tool. And so what you want to, and a lead generation tool. Okay. And so you want to be thinking about how you move a connection from LinkedIn to a phone call. And it's an important distinction, because too many people, it's almost like they're trying to make the sale on LinkedIn, and they're telling people and they're sending messages all about their products and services and features and benefits. And it just, that kind of stuff just doesn't work. Instead, you want to think about how can you really build the relationship, and your goal should just be, how do I get this person from LinkedIn onto the phone or face-to-face having coffee or a lunch or whatever it might be.
Okay. So I get that, and I appreciate that, because I get a lot of people that connect with me. I'm sure you do too, right? That it's immediate. We're an outsourcing company and we'd love to do your marketing and websites. I don't even know who you are. I'm just, I even say I try to be a open networker, so I say yes to everybody. Maybe I shouldn't, but I say yes to everybody. And so, but I really view LinkedIn as being, how do I build my body of network and influence, and vice versa, right? So that's kind of what LinkedIn is. Don't take the person right to immediate sell.
Yeah.
Close them on the LinkedIn message.
Yeah, and it's just like you guys teach in magnetic marketing, right? The great thing about LinkedIn is that it's about really taking control and taking your destiny in your own hands, not just sitting back and doing spray and pray kind of, soft marketing, and going on LinkedIn and building a list and then executing a campaign off of that list to reach those prospects. And there's a lot of different ways you can structure it depending on your business, but I think that's why it's such a great fit with what you guys teach.
Well, thank you. I agree. I mean, it's the media doesn't matter. It's the messaging, right? It's the approach to the messaging, and it's really using them to that. So now, do you teach people to make like a hot 150 list, a hot 50 list, a hot 250 list, and then try to figure out how to connect with these people? Is that how people should go about building their prospect list on LinkedIn?
That's a great strategy. And if that resonates with you, anybody listening to this, then that could be a great place to start. I like to tell people that for some of us, we have lots of different types of people we can work with. And so it almost becomes like, well, who do I even go after? Okay. What I really challenge people to do is look at the 80-20 of who your best clients are. Figure out who your absolute best clients are. What do they have in common? And how can we build a profile or an avatar around that? And then prospect on LinkedIn to find people that fit that profile. And at the end of the day, what we do for our clients and what we typically recommend to the folks that go through our training programs is start with a few hundred.
Okay.
And because when you start with a few hundred, sure, you could start with 50, you could start with 10, take it a little slower if you want to, but there's just something about the momentum of when you start with a few hundred really, really quality prospects, and then you work them through a process. Like, even if you just totally mess it all up, you're going to get some good leads out of that. And it's just because it's a numbers game at a certain point. Now, for the system we teach, typically 20%, 25% of the people that are worked through this process we teach, this messaging process, will end up agreeing to a phone call with you. So when you start with a few hundred people, you can get to a pretty sizable number of great high quality conversations with really, really high value prospects in a short amount of time. And I love to see people get momentum right out of the gates like that.
Oh yeah, because then it just momentum gets, builds on energy, and then people want to do more and more of it. So correct me if I'm wrong, LinkedIn was purchased by Microsoft, right?
That's right.
And they also bought Udemy, right? Didn't they buy the training? And so there's videos.
They bought Linda.
Right. So what do you teach people to it's two parts of the question. First part is, with Microsoft buying it, what do you think down the road could happen? Or have you seen changes? And then we'll talk about people utilizing video. And did you teach that also or no?
Cool. So I'll hit both those. So with Microsoft, I'm excited about it.
All right, good.
The things that I've seen in the last year or so since they bought LinkedIn, I think have been positive. And for example, one of the biggest ones is LinkedIn's ad platform.
Okay.
They've gotten much more serious about making LinkedIn ads something that you can, that is just so much more effective, and the platform is much more robust now. There's conversion tracking, there's retargeting, there's some different types of ads that didn't used to exist. It's come a long way in a short amount of time, and I have to give credit to Microsoft maybe for moving that along. And I think that the way they're going to integrate it into all of the Microsoft products, it's going to make LinkedIn even more pervasive in the business world, and it's an exciting thing for, I think, the future of LinkedIn, and for somebody like me that, our business is all about LinkedIn, that I think it's going to be here for a long time to come, and it's going to be an effective way to get clients and to market your business for a long time to come. So I'm excited about it. At the same time, Microsoft apparently has a reputation for kind of fumbling acquisitions at times, so you never know what could happen long term.
Sure.
Yeah, but so that's how I kind of look at that. In terms of video specifically, yeah, recently LinkedIn has been rolling out some new functionality and features around video and how video shows up in the feed. And I'm seeing when we post videos on LinkedIn as like a status update, I'm getting a lot more views on that video than I do on a regular post that might just be like a link to an article or just a text-based post or an image or something. And I have a sense it's similar to what people see with like Facebook Lives, where
Sure.
when a new feature comes out, you know, if you do it, then you're going to get, they'll push it up to the top more often. And so I think that's a good thing for people to be playing with. I don't think it's powerful enough to create a whole strategy specifically for LinkedIn video, but if you're already producing videos, put them on there.
Right. All right. So that was then my follow-up question is, it seems to be there's some pushback of people utilizing LinkedIn like Facebook. Is that your observation also?
It's funny. I've heard that concern a couple times in the last couple of weeks. And I don't personally, it's not a concern of mine, and I don't see it happening as much. I think that the reason that's coming up is because LinkedIn has started adding some features and functions that seem like they're similar to Facebook.
Okay.
Where you can see when people are on LinkedIn.
Okay.
The messaging system is working more like Facebook as well, and just some other little things. And to me, I think it's making it a more engaging and more sticky platform. But I don't think there's a threat that all of a sudden people are going to start using LinkedIn like they do Facebook. I still see LinkedIn as very straight-laced business conversations, and you know, Facebook's a whole nother animal.
A different animal. It is a different animal. When you work with folks, if they're B2B, is the predominant amount of their lead being generated on LinkedIn nowadays, or are they still using other sources?
I always tell people that I would recommend you have many sources of leads in your business, and because you know, if you only have one source of leads, and if that stops working, you know, your business is in real trouble, right? And that's why they call it a marketing mix, not a marketing one thing. And so I recommend our clients have more than one iron in the fire, just like our business has a number of irons in the fire, because I want to make sure that if one thing stops working, that it's not going to impact our business too much. Now, that said, we have a number of clients, I would say more smaller businesses, who really rely on us for the majority of their leads.
Wow.
In addition to the referrals and the word of mouth kind of leads that they get. We're essentially like the only outbound prospecting and lead generation investment that they're making, and they really rely on that for you know, a good flow of quality appointments.
Okay. Now let's you know, nowadays, and I'm sure it's been around for a while, but I've been kind of paying attention to it. Social selling, right, is kind of like the buzzword of what's going on. How is what you do different?
I'm not sure that it is.
Right.
I think we just don't really use that term because it just feels like it's just overused at this point, and you know, I'm just not jumping on the bandwagon of that term specifically. Right. But what we do is the social selling gurus, people that brand themselves in that way, what they're teaching is very similar to what we do for our clients and what we teach our clients to do.
Okay. And so what? Let's now that we kind of laid the table, right? You know, we got the. Let's get to the meat, right? So everybody's got a steak in front of them. What that you know, kind of let's dive deep into your system, or as deep as you can. I know we got a short amount of time, but you know, as deep of it, and how does it parallel to magnetic marketing?
For sure. Well, you know, feel free to jump in because you know magnetic marketing better than I do, of course.
Yeah.
But here's how it is. I mean, what we do with our clients is essentially a 5-step playbook, you know, system, right? So we've got the first thing we're going to do is build out the foundation.
Okay.
The second thing we're going to do is create what we call an authority leadership platform. The third thing we're going to do is build a database.
Okay.
The fourth thing we're going to do is we're going to start running messaging campaigns. And then the fifth thing that we do is what we call the email blueprint, where we take all this work that we do on LinkedIn and then we layer email on top of it. So I can walk you through each of those things.
Well,
Yeah.
Let me jump in. I'm going to do color commentary. So how is it compared to magnetic marketing? It's magnetic marketing, right? So, kind of pick your messaging, position yourself as, number one authority, right? Which is kind of things that we teach.
Yeah.
Different sources of media, right? So you're going to do LinkedIn, but you're also going to then start layering in email.
Right.
Multiple forms of email, multiple forms of media, which we teach about. And also have and you didn't talk about this, but what we say is have a swipe file, right, of things that work. So of emails that work, of LinkedIn postings that work. That's magnetic marketing, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So go.
And that's what related to, have the swipe file. I mean, that touches every area of the work that we do, because we really rely on just the years of testing and, thousands of campaigns that we've been a part of and trial and error to build these libraries of templates, messaging campaigns and scripts. And, it really touches every area. So where we start with the foundation, there's some moving parts, but the big thing is that we get really clear with what's that avatar look like of who's your 80/20 amazing client that you want to reach, so that we can build a profile that will be our cheat sheet of how we're going to find that person on LinkedIn. That really informs so much of what we do throughout the entire campaign. And from there, the next thing we start doing is we start strategizing what does the campaign look like and how are we going to attract these kinds of people to be connected with us, to join a community of like-minded people that we're going to curate on LinkedIn, and really come to see what we're doing, what our client is doing, as something that they find that they get value out of. And when they get value out of what we're doing, and when they start seeing our client as somebody that they know, like, and trust, and somebody who's putting out good stuff, and they start building rapport, and then they're much more likely to get on the phone at that point. And so it's really a relationship building process to where we achieve all those things before we even ask for a phone call. Okay. So it's often 2.5 or 3 months before we even ask somebody for a phone call. Like when a client hires our company, we tell them you're looking at 60 days before we start putting appointments on the calendar for you. And so back to the foundation though. So we've got that profile of who your avatar is. We'll work on the design of the campaign. We'll make sure that your LinkedIn profile is going to be positioned to appeal to those people. And then we start working on the second part of our system, which is what we call the authority leadership platform. And it's really it's a philosophy for building an online community that is all about your prospects and what they care about. Okay. And so we most often do this using LinkedIn groups. We have some clients that will do it with Facebook groups. We have some clients that will extend their online group into the real world. So an example of that is a client of ours, Swip Systems. They're an IT company. Tom Swip is the owner and president of the company. And we created a LinkedIn group for him called Midwest Manufacturing Leaders. Okay. And now because Tom is the founder of Midwest Manufacturing Leaders, when he reaches out to CEOs and CFOs of manufacturing companies, those are the people that he primarily does business with. Those are his best prospects. They see him more as a peer and a player in the industry and are much more open to connecting with him. And so Tom, for example, has taken it from a LinkedIn group that has thousands of members in it now to also an in-person event that he hosts in St. Louis once a quarter, that he has 100+ people attend every quarter. And we've helped him. We help him with those events too. But that's a great example of how you can really extend this concept into the real world and get great results with it. So that's the authority leadership platform. That's how that works. And a lot of people find it kind of hard to kind of get on board with, because they think, well, how am I going to position myself as an expert, and how am I going to talk about all my shiny shit? And, how am I going to prove to these people that I'm the one they need to call when it comes to IT systems and ERP systems and network maintenance? And we tell them, we say, look, you can create a community all about IT stuff, and that's going to attract your competitors, not your potential clients. And if it does attract some of your prospects, they're going to burn out on it, because the CEOs and CFOs of manufacturing companies, they just don't care about what you do that much to want to immerse themselves in those topics. So we tell our clients, with the content you're putting out there, you got to think first about what do they care about and be balanced about what you're putting out there. And then every once in a while, slip in something about what you do. And then they won't get tired of hearing from you. They won't feel like you're just hitting them over the head with a sales pitch every day about what you do and how you can help them. And then when you kind of, grease the skids like that and build some of that goodwill with people, and they see you as a leader in their space, then when you reach out to them at some point shortly down the road and say, hey, it's been great crossing paths here on LinkedIn. I'd love to have a conversation with you sometime and see how we might be able to help each other and get to know you a little better. People are really, really open to it.
All right. So that's really cool stuff. Really, really cool. I was curious, and I just had this conversation with Bob Lai, who's a great copywriter, great publisher, author, and we were talking about what's the right mix in your mind of content versus ask?
Yeah, well, if you really look at all the touch points that we make for our clients in a campaign, it's an overwhelming amount of content, very little ask.
Okay.
And because what we're doing is we've got this LinkedIn group or Facebook group, and we're sharing content in it every day. And it's not our clients' content. We go on and we curate content from third-party resources to find the best stuff that's out there. We share it in the group. Every once in a while, we drip in something of our clients,
Sure.
But it's not an ask. It's just a blog post or a case study or something like that, right? So we've got daily content that many of the people in the group are seeing. They get these digests of activity from email. There's different ways that they consume that content. And then they're getting messages that we're sending through LinkedIn, personal one-on-one messages behind the scenes. Because here's the thing, like if you just create a LinkedIn group and just post content in it, it's not going to generate much for you.
Right.
It really, for us, is a positioning play for our clients, and where the real magic happens is behind the scenes through these one-on-one personal messaging campaigns that we run through the LinkedIn inbox. And so it's not until maybe the third or fourth message in a campaign like this that we will make that ask about, hey, I'd love to jump on the phone sometime with you. And
Okay.
literally by that point, there may have been 80 touches, up to 80 touches before we made an ask. And then from there, what we will do is if they don't respond to the first ask, we'll send a follow-up a few days or a week or so later saying, hey, just wanted to make sure you got my last message. How's next Tuesday look? And we'll see. That's so important. So many people, I see this all the time. You probably do too. I get pitched for stuff all the time from people who they send one message and then that's it. It's like, if you're not going to, we get half of the results for our clients from the follow-up. And what I've seen, and this is a Microsoft, speaking of Microsoft did a study that I'm probably going to butcher it, but you'll get the spirit of what they found in this study. They studied thousands of salespeople and found that by the third or fourth contact, like 90% of salespeople has stopped following up. And that they found that by I believe it's the eighth contact, if you are still following up, that there's an 80% chance that you will get the business if anyone's going to get it, because you're the only one still in the game at that point. I really believe that like follow-up and consistency and being persistent can double or triple the sales of a business without adding any more leads, because so many businesses are just not even properly following up on the leads they already have.
It's interesting. I agree with you. And if we talk about, magnetic marketing, which we're, kind of talking a little bit about, as well as the LinkedIn system, the pivotal part of that is follow-up, right? And it really, when Dan started this, I first bought the system back in 1994, right? So that's aging me a little bit. I was a young guy like you back then, but I was in the sales. And I was running a West Coast sales team, and we saw Dan, and the talk about the follow-up, I'm like, there's something there, right? So it's the uniqueness of of lead generation, which I love, which is what we're talking about, what magnetic marketing does, but it's the follow-up system. And I agree with you. Most people stop, and I don't know why, but I mean, I always used to joke when, I was the VP of sales here at GKC. Now I moved up to the president, but I, still hit, with the sales guys every day. But, I said, I wasn't great. I was just a grinder, man. I would just follow up. And my number one performer here is a follow-up machine. He doesn't know any better, but he'll it's the 80-20 rule. He'll be here, 6:00 at night, 6:30 at night when I'm walking out the door, even on a Friday, you're just following up with people. And it's the end of the month, so he's going to be really grinding it out. And I think you're spot on with those studies, right? I've seen it too, and I think it's 8 to 9 follow-ups really is where the sales close. And all you have to do is stick around. I mean, just follow up because your competition doesn't. So I think you're spot on. And the key is just to keep going after. And it's amazing to me how many people will never take the time and energy and effort. And if you do a process or a system, if you look at getting follow-up emails like we have here or like you have, or follow-up direct mail, I mean, I'm sure you take people offline too. How do you get to people and how do you really try to stand out? Because it's not that they don't want to buy your product or services. Maybe they're just not ready, right? So there is that. But also, they got other stuff going on in their lives. They're busy.
Right.
They're dealing with their issues, right? They may be dealing with their sales force not closing for the quarter or for the month or that type of thing. So, it's I think you're spot on, Josh, with that. Is the key is how do you keep the follow-up system in place? And I always think, I've always thought about, okay, if I go out and do my own thing again, I would focus on somebody's middle of their pipeline. Because, there's a lot of people out there getting a lot of stuff in the top of the pipeline. This is unique. There's unique what you're teaching of getting to the top. I really like how you approach it to get to the top of the pipeline, but that fortune's in the middle of the pipeline. That's where somebody's money is, right? So just keep on growing that. So you're singing to the choir.
Yeah. Well, and the way that we help our clients achieve that, because a lot of people hear that and they think, yep, I need to start doing that and being more diligent, but they don't really do it and they run out of time and it's hard, keeping track of everything, even if these CRM systems are a pain in the butt and all that. And so, what we do in our system really alleviates a lot of that pressure for people, because if they, I just shared with you how when we make the first ask on LinkedIn for a phone call to set that appointment, we then will follow up with another LinkedIn message if they don't say yes to that.
Right.
And oftentimes what we'll do, and every campaign and how we structure it with a client is different depending on their business and a lot of factors. But oftentimes what we'll do then is if they're still not responding on LinkedIn, we'll move the conversation over to email, and then we'll implement a drip messaging, follow up on email.
Okay.
And it's really just a matter of trying to touch them in more places that they can be reached. Because if you're persistent and you keep at it, then you'll eventually break through to them. And so every client is different. For some clients, we'll just keep the follow-up system in email. For some clients, we'll send a couple emails and then we'll move back to LinkedIn. And then at that point, we don't just want to harass people over and over again about the phone call. Right. So you can make a couple asks about the phone call, and then you kind of have to pivot what you're doing in the messages and almost turn it into more of like just a monthly kind of, hey, just checking in, wanted to share this resource with you. Hey, we got this new case study I thought you'd be interested in. Maybe every few months you say, hey, would still love to chat sometime if you're open to it, hope you're doing well, et cetera, et cetera. We have a library of over 30 different approaches for this kind of a monthly checking in, staying in touch kind of a message. And that stuff makes a huge, huge difference, right? Because it's like that copy machine salesperson that, the first couple times that they come by your office, you're like, don't come here anymore. We don't need a copy machine. And they just, month after month, they keep showing up. And then 2 years later, you're like, all right, we do need a copy machine now. It's kind of that principle, but you have to do it right. You can't be annoying, or then they won't like you. You got to show up and add some value, especially if you're showing up in their inbox. And so that's one of the things that we help our clients do.
when I was a young lad, I had a mentor, a couple different mentors. I'm very, very fortunate, and one of them was a lot of sales guys that were older. I kind of met through friends, and I would network with them. And he was a restaurant supply sales guy, and he said, that was his approach. He had his route. He'd be knocking on doors. The guy had a driver. Right. He lived in a North Shore mansion. Right. And it didn't faze him. And he just was there. And he goes, I'll get them. He goes, I'll so I'll be there. And eventually they're going to need something, or they may give me a small order. And then once I open up the door, then I got the bigger order and the bigger order and bigger order. But it's that, how do you show up not as an annoying pest, right? Which is the core stories and the really core foundation of magnetic marketing. You don't want to show up as an annoying pest, but you're showing up as a person that they really want to do business with at the time and at the focus when they're ready to do business, right? Because you said, the copy guy showing up, and we've all seen them, and a lot of our friends have maybe started out in that business where they're knocking on doors and they kind of had to hit their territory, but if you just had staying power, and then eventually you're going to need that person, and now you're top of mind. And I think that's what you're building for people, and that's what the magnetic marketing system, and I know that's what your system does, is build the person to be the top of the mind, so when they're ready to make that choice, whatever that is, you're that person.
That's right. That's what we do.
Right. All right, so we got the avatar and we got the LinkedIn profile, and you got like 80 touches, and you got follow-up in there. So then what's the next step?
The next step from there, so we basically covered the foundation, the authority leadership platform. We didn't really touch on the database build process, so I'll talk about that. It's like, where do these people come from?
Good.
Excuse me. What I love about LinkedIn, this is what I talked about earlier, is the ability to just go on LinkedIn and find somebody and reach out to them, bring them into your network. It's just a numbers game. And it's such a fun thing to do to go spend a little bit of time on LinkedIn, send out some connection requests, and all of a sudden have a bunch of prospects sitting there at your disposal. That's really what we do in the database build process. And so we'll use the avatar and we'll go on LinkedIn and we'll send a bunch of connection requests to them. I mean, for clients that hire us to do it for them, sometimes we'll send up to 2,000 connection requests in the first 30 days. And
can they get shut down though? I mean, is there a certain
No, it's not. Our clients don't ever get shut down. I guess theoretically, if you really go about it the wrong way, but we have plenty of resources to show people how to do it the right way. And here's the thing: when you know who your avatar is, and you've created this authority leadership platform, and when you reach out to a prospect and they see that you're the founder of Midwest Manufacturing Leaders, and when your outreach includes a personal note saying, hey, came across your profile here, thought we could benefit from being connected, thanks, and it stands out, it's much different. You get a really high response rate of people accepting that connection request. And so, you're really not at risk. Like, there's a certain amount of activity that you don't want to try and send 2,000 in one day.
Sure.
You kind of want to spread it out a little bit. But at the end of the day, every LinkedIn account comes preloaded with 5,000 connection requests that you can send out.
Really?
So yeah, you can send up to 5,000 connection requests. And then once you hit that limit, you can ask LinkedIn for more. And as long as you're not abusing it and getting a ton of people saying that they don't know who you are or marking it as spam or whatever, as long as you're, look like you're playing by the rules, then you'll be in pretty good shape. And so you can go on and on and on with this strategy for a long, long time. And the amazing thing about it is that this is not just a LinkedIn database, but you get all the emails from these people too, because LinkedIn will let you export them. And so when you've got a database of thousands of LinkedIn connections, all of a sudden you got a very valuable email list as well. And a lot of people overlook that. And so it's not the sexiest way of building a list, but it's an extremely targeted and effective way to do it if you're willing to put in a little elbow grease. And that's one of the reasons I love it, because when I was starting my business, I actually didn't really even know a better way to do it. Like I wasn't tuned into the Facebook advertising and building funnels and lead magnets and all that stuff. And for a lot of our clients that even are tuned into that stuff now, it's really more complex and costly than they really want to get involved with in a lot of cases. And so to be able to use LinkedIn and just put in a little elbow grease and build an asset like that is a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, that's really cool. I didn't realize that. So, all right. So they now they got their database. They're building the database. They're asking. They're taking the email so they could take the conversation from one media to another. They could email people, then go back and forth. And then what's next?
Rinse and repeat.
All right.
So we've covered the foundation. We've covered the authority leadership platform, database build. We've talked about messaging campaigns. I can go into more depth on that. And we've touched on how we integrate email with it. Those are really the 5 pillars of our strategy. Okay. And it's just continuing to bring new prospects into that process, working them through the messaging strategy, continuing to add new people to your database. And it just becomes kind of a machine. And another cool thing about it is that once you kind of get some momentum, then it starts kind of working on its own and you start getting inbound requests as well. And so, for example, I spent a lot of time and elbow grease, like I've said, building my LinkedIn connections up to a few thousand when I was getting started. And now, because I kind of built the machine and the snowball just kept on picking up momentum, now I have about 23,000 connections.
Wow.
And so that's a lot more than most people have. And granted, I'm also a LinkedIn expert, so people kind of look for me there, have a little bit of an advantage. But we see the same thing with our clients. Once you have a group, a community that you're seen as a leader in an industry like this that you serve, and you have thousands of connections yourself, you become much more easily found. People start seeing you as somebody they want to be connected with, and you start having people reaching out to you a lot more proactively.
That's great. Did you ever, when you first started on this path, think you'd end up here?
No, no, not at all. I mean, I didn't, when I first started my business, I remember, and I might still have this document somewhere. One day I mapped out kind of a plan for how I could get my business to 200,000 a year in revenue.
Okay.
And I thought that would be amazing. And I would just be made in the shade. And we got to that level very quickly and then realized like, oh, maybe I had some limiting beliefs. Maybe the ceiling is much higher than I thought. I think we can grow this to maybe 500,000. And then we got there and I thought, I think we can probably grow it a little more. And really quickly we're, over 1 million in annual revenue. And now we're much bigger than that now even too. So no, I didn't set out at the beginning to create this kind of not only revenue size in the company, but also the impact that we've had has just been amazing. The number of people that we've served is really humbling. We've had multiple hundreds of thousands of people attend our workshops. I would say a couple 100,000 minimum, over 12,000 clients that we've served. And, that's a great honor.
It's funny. And one of the reasons why I was excited about having you as part of the interview process and the Ask the Expert process is every interaction I've had with you, Josh, is you're a humble guy. You're smart, sharp as a tack, and really, really good executor and implementer and a great executive. But you're just, like I'd say, I always want to talk to guys. I can say I can have a beer with them, and maybe I wouldn't want to go to a St. Louis game. We'd have to go to a Cubs game. But and I know, like when you were in New York, you got the lifestyle that you want before the baby. You were in New York at the same time. I think I was going to pick up my daughter from summer school, and we're going to hook up there. But I'm like, every time I hang up with JoshTurner, he's a good guy, he's a smart guy, and I just watch you kind of say, it's kind of humbling to think about the fact that we've helped hundreds of thousands of people. We've got 12,000 clients, and it's not, I know you enough to know it's not bragging. You are humbled by it, and the fact that you can make an impact on people's lives, of have them not go through maybe the trauma that you went through back. If we reverse your story, 2008, 2009, and saying, how do I make sure that you have a prospecting system in place that works, and it's not just based on one, right? But it's a processing system on multi-streams, multi-channels coming in. And so I applaud you and I thank you. And you've always been great with our members. Those that are in, we have a lot of crossover between customers and members, and and I know you've done a lot of training in a number of our products, and we keep on trying to get you to one of our events, and you always got something. So but I think you're going to get the super conference, right?
I'm asking. Yeah, I'm waiting for the details.
Oh man, we got to get that. I'm going to text it to you when we hang up. I know I tried to get the info summit, but you got a thing going on.
Yeah.
So,
well, thank you for those kind words. I think one thing I would add too is that it's a testament to the power and effectiveness of the kind of marketing that we're talking about here. And my company does a lot of the things that you guys teach. We've gotten a lot of value from the strategies and systems that GKIC that teaches and puts out to the world, and this stuff works.
Yeah, thank you. I think we're both testaments to that, and the key is if you just want to buy something, neither of us are for that, right? We want people that are implementing. You want those hundreds of thousands of people to go to the seminars to really implement the stuff, because it could change their lives and help them grow.
Absolutely.
It was just kind of fun watching you describe, hey, maybe I had some limiting beliefs when I only thought 200,000 was where I'm going to go. Guy's been on the Inc. 500 list twice the last 2 years. So I think you did have some limiting beliefs. All right,
sure.
So let's talk to messaging, right? So it all, this is all great, but if I got a bad message, then, nothing's going to happen, right?
That's right. Yeah. Our general strategy that we teach is that you want to spend a little bit of time. First off, here, I'll just talk tactically. Yeah. The first message that we often will send is just thanks for connecting. So shortly after you connect with the person, just send them a little note saying, hey, thanks for connecting. Looking forward to keeping in touch here on LinkedIn. You might add something, and every situation is different, but you could add something to the effect of, I like to keep in touch with my connections here on LinkedIn. So, I might send you some resources from time to time, or if I see an article or something that I think you might be interested in, I'll send it your way.
Okay.
Almost to prime them that you're going to hear from me more, but in a really casual, informal way. A big key with messaging on LinkedIn is that you want it to feel like it's a informal, personal message. Like you just, Bob, who I just connected with, I'm going to send him a message. You don't want it to feel like it's a canned marketing message that you're sending out to all of your connections. And that is a thing that a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs have a real problem with. And that we really try and help them steer clear of is using marketing speak and jargon in their messages, right? Like you're writing to a friend, and you'll get much better results. So the first message will be something like that. The second message could be, hey, came across this great article on XYZ, thought you might be interested in it, would love to hear your thoughts on what they said about this little section of the article or whatever. Something like that could be the second message. A third one could be a case study of some sort. Fourth one could be the request for a phone call. You can also think about these campaigns in terms of indoctrination, in a sense, so that before you go for the phone call, because when you get on the phone with somebody, you want to make sure that they're thinking about the problem that you solve. Okay. And that it's a problem for them, because you don't want them to just get on the phone and just, well, some people don't care. If you're great at selling and business development, you're just like, just get me on the phone with them and I'll build the relationship and I'll take it from there. I don't care what happens before that. Other clients of ours, they want the prospect to be more prepared on the call, to be in a mindset of this, having a conversation about doing business. And so one of the things you think about is agitating that problem that you solve. And so seeding that in the messaging, in the LinkedIn messaging campaign is a great way to do that. And you can do that just by really being creative about the content that you're utilizing in the campaign. You don't need to say things in the, like, a big pain point that I help my clients solve is this. You want to be that, upfront or, about it. But there's some really easy, subtle ways to just kind of put the stuff out there so that they're thinking about it. And another thing you could do too, that some of our clients do is this indoctrination kind of thing, is use some of your own content to build that kind of a case. in a messaging campaign. So for example, recently I was talking to an organization that does really well with getting leads from Facebook onto webinars. And then the webinar does such a great job of really making the sale that by the time at the end of the webinar, they have an opportunity to sign up for a phone call with a salesperson, and they're just so indoctrinated by that point, and they're almost ready to buy. It's like the salesperson at that point is almost an order taker.
Right.
And that's not necessarily what we do.
Okay.
If you want to be an order taker, what we do is not the right fit. This is relationship building and business development for high-end deals that require relationships and that require you to play the long game. And that's where we really shine. But what we're doing with that client is we're thinking, okay, what's so great about this webinar that by the time they get on the phone, they're just like pulling out their credit card right away. Well, we're taking pieces of that webinar, chunking it down into smaller pieces of content, and then dripping that out over the series of a few messages within LinkedIn, so that then by the time they get on the phone, they've consumed some of that content that's so compelling, and that they're then much more likely to be in a position to want to have a really direct business conversation.
All right. I got to get that webinar. I want to watch that. I mean, that you got my peak that if somebody's watching this, that they're doing that. So I hear this and I'm thinking to myself, all right, I'm a business owner and I'm a salesperson. How much time is this investment to do this?
Yep. So yeah. So for the clients of ours that join our training and coaching program, where it's kind of like a done with you, or we're there to look over your shoulder, but you got to do the heavy lifting. We tell folks that you need to be able to devote a half hour a day, 5 days a week.
All right.
And if it doesn't have to be 5 days a week. Like if you want to front load it all into Monday and do 2.5 hours on a Monday, that's great. And then you can just do that once a week, however you want to slice and dice it. But that's really what you need to spend. For a lot of our clients, they love it. They're getting such great results that they spend more time than that on it. Okay. You can spend almost as much time as you want, but if you can commit a half hour a day, you can get some pretty good results.
And is there a transaction size that just doesn't make sense to try to do this with?
Yeah, like a few $100.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you got something that's really, if you're selling something that's less than $1,000, okay, I would typically not recommend this strategy for getting direct clients. I would instead focus on how can you use LinkedIn to, get in with JV partners, co-marketing partners, and strategic partnerships that could lead to hundreds of clients instead of going after one client at a time.
Right.
So that's what I would recommend there. So for example, we have one program called Linked University, one of our training programs, and I would not use this strategy that I've been talking about to go out because it's $1,000 program. I would not, use this strategy to reach out to people like this about that program. But what we have done is built some very lucrative joint venture relationships. One of them in particular that's been multiple six figures in sales.
Okay.
And so that one relationship led to several hundred customers of that program. And so that's one way to be using it. And I would say that for companies that are interested in hiring us, typically you need to have an average lifetime value of a client $10,000 or more.
Okay. Sure. Next thing. So they got to know their numbers. They got to know their lifetime value, right? So if it's a transactional one and done, this isn't for it, right? There's better ways to go after that customer.
Unless the one and done is $20,000.
Right. So yeah, one enterprise software system or something like that where, it's going to, they're going to be good for 5-10 years. Capital equipment. Does this work for guys that are selling capital equipment, I'm assuming?
Yeah, it absolutely could.
Yeah. All right. Anything else kind of in closing or, lessons learned or, mistakes that the newbie makes that
Yeah. The biggest mistake that the newbie makes is not sticking with it, honestly, and thinking that they work the system for a couple months and then they quit.
Okay.
When you really need to be prepared to test And when you put something out to the market, you can't just assume it's going to be 100% awesome the first time out of the gates. And if it's not, you're going to quit and say, this doesn't work for me. And with LinkedIn and the systems we teach, so many people do that. And I think that you could probably say that about a lot of different marketing strategies that people teach that are very effective. And a lot of people that try them don't stick with it long enough to see it through. And I mean, that's a big thing that we see, unfortunately. The other thing I would say that's really important is that oftentimes people with this process, they forget that it takes time to develop relationships. It takes time to really build a pipeline, and that you're not going to go on LinkedIn and all of a sudden in 2 months have, signed purchase orders for multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, does it happen sometimes? Is it possible? Yeah, it's possible. But I oftentimes see people, and this goes back to people thinking LinkedIn is a sales tool when it's really a prospecting and lead generation tool. And they forget that they have a sales cycle, right? And so they'll work the system for a few months and they'll think, I haven't gotten any business yet from this. So I'm going to throw in the towel on this whole LinkedIn thing. And then we'll ask them, well, what's your sales cycle? And they'll say, well, typically from the time I speak to somebody to the time I get a purchase order, on average, it's 6 months or whatever it might be. Like, well, you're not even giving it enough time to see it through your normal sales cycle.
Right.
And I think that that's unfortunate. And I don't know quite why that happens. And of course, it's not everybody, but a lot of people do come up short in that area. And I would say there's so many small business owners that this system we teach is a godsend if you're willing to be consistent with it, because building relationships with people is the most time-tested, proven way to get business.
Oh yeah, it's all about the relationship and the relationship. Making investments in the relationship bank, and I think a lot of times we don't do that, or people won't do that. I was just thinking, I smiled to myself. It's really a relationship in dating. It's not Tinder, right? It's not. They're not going to swipe and have immediate gratification and
right.
And so people.
You and I don't know anything about that.
I know. I was
heard about it.
You're like, I don't know if I got that. And the only reason I know it is
I came along and I just missed the wave on that one.
Right. I'm far out of the wave. I've been together with my wife. We married for 22 years and together for 27. So,
Yep.
we were right out of college, and, so I missed that. And I think I'm thankful that I have it. I missed it, but
Me too.
And I think the problem is that, because of this, because of, we're immediate gratification society, everybody wants to reach a close now. And when I do sales training, I crack up all the time. I say, you said it very well. Here's your buyer's timeline. We as sellers want it to be right here. We want to short circuit it. They may not be ready. They may not emotionally be ready. They may not. It may be, if it's a capital piece of equipment that we talked about, they may have a certain cycle that they're making their capital, equations on in their purchases. So it may happen every January. They may be looking for leads, 365 days before, and then putting people through a vetting process. So you have to realize that. And the important thing is the way you do it, build yourself up as the end all be all, and make that investment over time and build the platform. And so when it's time to make that decision, you're at the top, or you're the only choice, which is what you want. So, Josh, you're a hell of a guy. Your team is phenomenal. Ariel and everybody there is phenomenal. I know you're in the middle of a lot of stuff, and you got a young baby, and so I appreciate you taking time. And any parting words? I'm going to sell some magnetic marketing when we finish, but I don't know if I want to. You don't have to stay on, but if you want to, you're welcome. But any parting words for our members? And you've been gracious with your education.
No, I think I've said enough. I would just close with, thank you for having me on. Always an honor to be able to be here and share with your tribe. And I appreciate you having me on. And anybody that wants to connect with me, look me up on LinkedIn and send me a connection request and tell me Nick sent you.
There you go. I thought it'd be funny if you said, hit me up on Facebook, or the guy. No. So Josh, thank you. Thank you for everything you do. You've always, like I said, been gracious with your time and education. And I have 4 pages of notes. just from our talk. And I've heard you speak, and I've listened to every time you've done a master class for our folks. So I appreciate it. All right, my man. You take care.
Thanks, Nick.
And thanks for everything. Take care.
You too. See you, man.
Right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you being on time and being on with us this entire time. Hopefully you've learned some stuff along the way. We've tried to do what we've talked about in each of these episodes, each of these Ask the Experts, Day with Dan. Everything that we've done over the course of the last 2 weeks really has been sharing content. But really what we've been talking about, the importance of systems, the importance about having marketing systems. And one of the best systems that I know of to market your business, for lead generation, for business development, for customer flow, for patience, is the magnetic marketing system. The reason why I know it's one of the best is everybody that we've spoken to, plus all of our members, all attribute their success of their business and their trajectory to constant new business and revenue growth from magnetic marketing. And you've listened to the Robin Robinses of the world, the Ben Glasses of the world, the Ron Ipaks, Rachel Young on Day with Dan. All of our members, all are formed from the foundation of finding their way to magnetic marketing. I found my way to magnetic marketing in 1994. I was sitting in a Peter Lowe success event, and there was a guy at the end that was passing out flyers and putting them on tables, and he was going to talk about marketing. And I said, anybody working that hard to get people to stay in the room deserves my attention. And I am so glad I stayed and listened, just like I'm so glad that you are right now staying and listening, because it changed the course of my life. If I didn't listen, if I didn't find the magnetic marketing system in 1994, it would, it changed the way that I cold prospected. So I moved myself and my sales team from being cold called cowboys, where we were proud of being on the phone and pounding out 60 to 100 dials in the morning and another 120 dials in the afternoon. We changed that and put a steady stream of prospects into our pipeline every single day. We had follow-up systems, right? So we just didn't send, back then it was a letter. We just didn't send one letter. We sent follow-up letters. We learned it all from the magnetic marketing system, from the samples that we saw, and we changed to modify it. It changed the life for my bride and I. We just talked about my young bride and I 22 years ago. This system helped us get to where we wanted to be in our lives. I took this, my copy of Magnetic Marketing, I got 4 copies that I purchased on my own, and now these new ones I have the opportunity of getting for free because I'm part of the GKSC team. That has been on my bookshelf in every business or every job I've taken. So I launched 2 businesses. You've heard me tell the story about the 2 businesses that I've launched. I launched them on the power of magnetic marketing. One of them was a physician practice management and marketing firm. So we did practice management and marketing for physicians and strategic planning. It was swipe and deployed letter that I had from my magnetic marketing vault. Sent out letters. The first client we got, $5,000, and it just changed the life of that business. We also I've used it to prospect for all types of industries, and all of our members have used it for all types of industries. So this is proven. It works. You have to take action. You have to click on the button, buy now. You have to give us a call at 1-800-871-0147. Once again, 1-800-871-0147. So let me go through what you're going to get, right? Because you've been with me all this time, and I appreciate it. So you're going to get the magnetic marketing system. This is the system that everybody talks about. You have to have a system and a process. So what is my USP? What is my avatar? You heard JoshTurner talk about the importance of avatar. How do I put my messaging in place so that it positions me? Problem, agitate, solve. He talked about it. It's the same. It's the system. It's all in the foundation of Dan Kennedy. So Dan Kennedy walks you through the training of that. So there's DVDs, CDs, and workbooks, right? So the system itself is set up. You just, like Rachel Young, you heard her talk about it. You just have to go through the system and fill out the Q&A, and you're all set and you're ready. So that's the first part of the system. The second part of the system is the template-free, copyright-free templates. This you just plug into your computer and you change it around, and you put your telephone numbers on there, and you put your business numbers on there, and you put your change the offer, and it's ready to go. So your emails are there, your cash flow surge is there. If you want to do postcards, it's there. If you want to do every door direct mail, EDDM, it's there. Freestanding inserts, it's all there. So there's 100 144, I believe they told me on this, of templates that are just there. So you just have to kind of just play around with it and set it and forget it. Josh Turner just talked about the importance of templating, the importance of having swipe files to do from. The next part, which is everybody's favorite part, all the experts that we talked about the importance of swipe files. So the Vault has hundreds of ads, all different types of ads. It has the original Giorgio letter, and it has modern Giorgio letters for people that are using them now. All types of industries, professional practices, doctors, lawyers, orthodontists are best. B2B, we have it in here. People that sell industrial coating is there. Roofers, car dealerships, tire manufacturers, it's all there. There are samples. There's hundreds of samples. And the importance of the samples is you just don't want to go out and grab ads that you may see in the Wall Street Journal, or you may see in Valpak if you get Valpak, or in your local newspaper, and copy them, because you don't know if the ads work. The power of the Vault is the fact that these are all tested, and we've asked everybody to send the results, because one of the rules, the 10 golden rules, are results rule, period. We didn't share the results because that's not fair to the business owners that shared theirs. It's not fair to the members that shared their products and their marketing with us. But the results are there. We won't put anything in there that didn't have good results. Next, you get magnetic email marketing. Magnetic email marketing takes the power of magnetic marketing into the new media. The new media is Facebook. So how to put magnetic marketing type Facebook advertising in place, LinkedIn advertising in place, how to put magnetic marketing types of Facebook not Facebook, but landing pages, as well as your own website. So the difference between a landing page and a website, and then how to use it for Google AdWords. So how to use magnetic marketing in the internet age: Facebook, LinkedIn, websites, landing pages, and Google AdWords. So you have a decision making. You want to change your life, put a prospecting and marketing system into place. If you do, give us a call, 1-800-871-0147, or just click the button below. I believe it's a blue or a yellow button. It says buy now. Just click on that and your life will change. And the reason why I know it will change is because it changed for me. It changed for the hundreds and thousands of members that we hear from every day here at GKAC, and it changed for all the lives of all the people that we've had on this program. Everybody could attribute their success to magnetic marketing. So do me a favor. You have everything to gain and nothing to lose. We have a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you buy now, you'll get immediate digital access to this, and you just play around with it. Utilize the Facebook ads. Utilize the copyright-free ads. Put them in place and start getting some money in place. You got 30 days. At 29 days, 30 days in, you don't like it, give us a call. No fuss, no muss, nothing. We'll refund your money. We just got to ask that you ship it back to us, right? So just play fair, ship it back to us. And as soon as we receive it, we'll refund your money. So now is your choice. Give us a call, 1-800-871-0147. Take action now by clicking buy now. Click that yellow button, and you'll be very, very happy that you made a choice. I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you. Hopefully you enjoyed all the content that we put in place over the last 2 weeks. Hopefully you enjoyed everything that we provided to you, but I want you to take action, because it will be the best thing that you've made, the best decision that you made for your life, for your business, and for your family. By buying now, by buying magnetic marketing and putting a marketing and lead generation system in place that is like no other, that is proven, that is time tested over 25 years. Take action now by 1-800-871-0147 or click on the yellow button. Thank you, and God bless.